Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me in person in New York City from the Spotify studios is Dave Jacoby.
What a special episode. The two of us in person. You made the trip from Memphis to New York City. You wanted to see a Broadway show. You saw it. But the main reason for the visit was to go to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, and see the number 3 in the Western Conference, Memphis Grizzlies, with a 6-game win streak. Hottest team in the NBA, headed right into the hottest city in the world to face the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, the New York Knickerbockers.
We're not the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, but I'll allow it. So, the Broadway show was great.
Great, yep. Sunset Boulevard. Shout out to Nicole Schlesinger.
The restaurant we went to was great.
Cacio e Pepe always wins.
Get to Madison Square Garden, and I can't get into the game.
No, we're walking up there because I go to games. You have to have the Knicks app.
Why?
To go to, I don't know.
Why?
It's a new thing. It's a new thing a couple years ago.
Let me just explain to everybody out there. All right, I'm an out-of-towner, fish out of water. My tickets are through Ticketmaster, and then I transferred them to my wallet, like I have for every game I've ever. Yeah, that's where
flights,
when I fly back,
I add stuff to wallet all the time.
Add to wallet.
Go to Disney World, add to wallet.
Get to the Knicks game, Madison Square Garden, my first time, the world's most famous arena. Walk up, pull out my wallet, pull up the tickets. They said no. They said, no, you don't have the little thing. And I was like, what little thing? And they're like, there has to be there. And they show this other guy's thing. They show this other guy's phone. And they're like, it has to have this thing on there, like a little scan thing. And I was like, these are my tickets. I transferred them to my wallet. These are and they're like, no. They're like, you need to go back through Ticketmaster. So I pull up my Ticketmaster.
So I'm already in because I have the Knicks app. So me and my wife are in past the barrier. Verno and his wife, not only are they stopped at the border, there's a mass of human beings.
A mass. I'm holding it up.
It's a small hallway. Anyone's been to Madison Square Garden, it's very poorly designed as far as logistics of getting humans in and out. They have these small hallways that lead to basically staircases.
It's chaos.
There's just a massive
chaos.
And it's right around tip-off, so everyone's trying to get in as soon as possible. And Verno and his wife are holding the whole thing up. And it's hilarious. And Verno is not taking it well.
No. Because now he says, go to your Ticketmaster thing. So I go to my Ticketmaster thing. I pull up my tickets through Ticketmaster. I walk back up. He's like, dude, you have to have the little thingy. I said this. You told me to go to Ticketmaster. Now you are calling me. You're like, download the Knicks app.
There's a guy working security who's like, first of all, I always appreciate when people recognize me. Oh, I love the show, whatever, ESPN or Fox Sports or Mismatch. I always appreciate that. I'll always give people time of day and say what's up. Always show the love, back to the love. But this guy's one of those guys who's like, I know you from somewhere. How do I know you? And I'm like, maybe I can use this guy to help get Verno in. So I'm like, oh, ESPN, whatever. He's like, oh, that's right. So that's right. He's like, what's wrong with your friend? I was like, he doesn't have the Knicks app. He's like, well, tell him to download the Knicks app. I was like, I did. And then I was like, and he's like, then he's like, bring him over here. So I'm like, all right, come over here. And I bring him over here. And then he's like, the guy I'm talking to is like, this guy will help you out. And then Verno sees that and he's like, oh no. He's like, I've been to this guy 3 times.
I've been to this. This guy hates me.
He hates me.
All right. So, long story short, I download the Knicks app. Boom, my tickets directly go into
basically,
it.
it's a Ticketmaster's connected to the Knicks app. So it's just like, if you buy it on Ticketmaster, it goes right to the Knicks app.
And so now it goes to the Knicks app. It says, oh, here are your tickets. It would not show me my tickets or allow me to get in until I download this
Knicks app. Yeah.
Allow me to tell you that the game was at 7:30. So I'm probably in at 7:35, 7:40, something like that, right? By the time I get in. Yeah. 7:36. That thing is off of my phone.
They know. And you know
what?
They're still tracking you. They know what you had for breakfast. They know that you're here right now.
And allow me to say, It will never be on my phone again because I'm never going back to that godforsaken place.
I had a great time.
It was a disaster. I came all the way from Memphis, Tennessee, proud of my team.
6 straight wins.
You said it's going to be a lazy Monday night. Oh, not a lazy Monday night. The world came out. You would have thought that Denzel Washington, who's about to be on Othello on Broadway, you would have thought it was him when John Morant walked in that place, because it's Michael J. Fox, it's Dustin Hoffman, it's Adam Sandler,
Chris
Judd
Rock.
Apatow, Chris Rock, Timothy Chalamet, Kira Sedgwick.
Fat Joe.
Everybody in the free world is there for the show. And I said, it's not going to be a lazy Monday night, Jacoby. John Morant will wake him up. John Morant was minus 41.
How many points did he have? Like 10?
Minus 41. He is throwing the ball to Desmond Bain so Desmond Bain can turn the ball over again, and then running to the corner, and him and Mikal Bridges are having a thumb war. And then every time the Grizzlies got the ball, they threw it to the Knicks.
It was wild.
It was like, hey, everybody's here. Look at all these stars. The Grizzlies were unfortunately perfect participants. It was like they were part of the play.
They looked like the Washington Generals.
They looked like the Washington Generals. My people are sending these Knicks fans. They're sending me memes. Rest in peace, Jay Huff. Miles McBride just shit on you. They're sending me the box score. They're sending me highlights. It's a disaster. They're down by 40 at one point, and I'm like, what has happened? What has happened? Again, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, I went to 4 games and watched the Grizzlies win all of them. That was coming after 2 San Antonio wins, so it was 6 in a row leading up into this. Playing well. Feelings are good. Now, here's proving ground time.
So
You're about to go play somebody good. You've run over bad teams.
Were 2 of those against the Pelicans?
Yeah, they've run over. No. Charlotte, Utah. It's all rat teams.
Yeah.
Except for Minnesota on Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, that was a game.
That was the only one.
Yeah.
The other 4, it was Pelicans, Charlotte, and Utah. So it's 3 rat teams.
Yeah.
I guess you could fall into this belief that, like, hey, we're really good. We're playing really well, right? Heading into this Knicks game. They were a disaster. And
awful.
Everything that you worry about the Grizzlies on the highest level came to pass. That was the hard part about watching it, is because one of the things that we have talked about is...
Do you need to lie down for this? Like
no, their offense has been admittedly incredible. It's very fast-paced. Yeah. But they have been at the very bottom of the league in allowing points off turnovers. They have also been bad on transition defense.
29th in turnovers.
Right. And
how are they not 30th?
It shows up. And so then they had gotten the turnovers down. But again, not playing anybody.
Last night.
But also not playing anybody. And so it was like, what is going to happen when the competition gets greater? Who are the guys that you can trust when you're playing a vet team, when you're playing a team that is defensively schemed, when you are playing a team filled with veteran adults? And it was a debacle.
And also start well. Like the Knicks started well.
For sure.
And Memphis just could not swim against that tide. Just felt like, I don't think the Knicks called timeout because Memphis went on like a 6-0 run. I don't think it happened.
It was your perfect combination of one team playing horribly as a terrible representation of themselves, and one team playing, admittedly amazing. They scored 140.
Well, I think the Grizzlies had a lot to do with them.
For sure
amazing.
They did.
And it was a very brief story. When I was with Grantland, we documented the Drew League action, which is sort of like LA's version of like a Rucker Park sort of a thing. And the game, the rapper, The Game, he was on a team.
Right.
And I think DeMar DeRozan was on his team, maybe Baron Davis. And The Game is probably the worst basketball teammate in the history of basketball. Better basketball player than you think. But what he would do is he would never play defense. He would stand in the opposing side of the court and waiting for a rebound or a steal. And then he would get the cherry picking outlet and he would either dunk or shoot a 3. Normally shoot a 3, right? And it was ridiculous. It was honestly like what Vivek Ranadive was talking about when he suggested that they do this. And honestly, in the fourth quarter, the Knicks started to smell all of the turnovers that the Grizzlies were throwing, and they started doing that. Like Bridges and Deuce started like hanging out around half court, knowing that eventually the Grizzlies were going to turn the ball over and they would get a game at Drew League like dunk or three off of the ensuing transition play. And me and you watched it in the fourth quarter, where most people probably tuned into the Celtics Rockets game if they're at home and watched it happen over and over again. It was embarrassing.
It was crazy.
And those red uniforms too. You should probably
the red uniforms are great.
I don't think you should be a Grizzlies fan anymore. I think you need to give up.
How dare you?
I think for the team, you should sacrifice your fandom.
No.
For you to be in the building and witness that, the problem is you.
No. For sure not me. Look, they had all the stars out there. I don't know what happened last night. I'm not going to try to explain it away. It was a disgusting performance. Over the course of 82 games, those disgusting performances
happened. When was the last Memphis game?
But for them to do that when I flew to New York,
they should pay for your flights.
It's abominable.
They should pay for your flights and hotels.
They should for sure.
Do you want me to? I'll write a strongly worded email.
They should for sure.
And I mean the players. Not even like the team. Like the players should have a pool, a Verno pool.
I agree with that. Especially, I bought my tickets.
I'll write an email.
Who
do I write? The mascot?
A guy hit me up on Twitter last night, and he said, "Hey, at least you didn't have to pay to get in to watch this."
Yeah,
I
you know
spent
what? I haven't paid you for the tickets yet. I'm not paying you. You just ate that.
That's fine. I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean, go ahead. Go ahead. You know what, Jacoby? I'm already dead. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt me.
What a night. What a night.
Look, New York City was great. Being with you was great.
Yeah, I got to hang out with your wife.
That game was a disaster.
It was embarrassing.
I know.
Who played well for the Grizzlies?
No, but come on.
Precious Achiuwa hit a 3 and had an assist and a dunk in like a real-time 5-minute span.
I was there,
Precious
dude.
Precious Achiuwa looked like LeBron James.
I was there.
Deuce dunked on Salty Aldama.
No, Jay Huff.
We dunked on Huff?
Yeah, that's why people were
Jesse, edit this out. We cannot have any Huff slander on the pod.
Yeah,
I mean, no, we
happened.
cannot say. Huff got in the game. He stays ready, boy. I was watching him on the bench. He was doing calisthenics during the timeouts. He's staying ready, staying warm, staying limber for that 2.5 minutes when you're down by 40 at the end of the game.
Down by 40.
Woo.
The only people having fun were all of the celebrities in Jacoby and all of the Knicks fans.
Had a great time.
And
my wife bought a hat.
I said, this is a terrible representation. Terrible.
Yeah, Vernon, my wife went to go get an ice cream. She's pregnant. She's allowed to do that. She's like, hey, Chris, Elena, you guys want an ice cream? You guys are like, no. 20 minutes later, Chris Vernon is like, where's that ice cream at?
Yeah, where is the ice cream?
Like, I need some happiness in my life. I need some sort of joy.
Where is anything I can?
I need any sort of joy in my life right now. Give me the ice cream.
Give me the ice cream.
So that was between the two.
And I hope the line is super long so it's less of the game I have to watch.
Those are the 2-3 seeds in the Eastern and Western Conference. We had a matchup between the 2 seeds in the Eastern and Western Conference. A little more competitive.
Yes.
And
so I went back and watched the game edit of this Celtics and Rockets game. First thing that stood out as I was watching the game edit of this was I was like, boy, there's a lot of Luke Cornett in these.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the second thing was, oh my God, Dylan Brooks, which again, after I had already had this miserable night of basketball experience, now I'm watching Dylan Brooks make literally everything he takes while having flashbacks of 2 playoff series that this same guy has shot me out of.
They left him alone.
What the hell is going on tonight?
They left him alone from like 12 feet.
This whole night is a nightmare. I'm first. My team gets destroyed. Then I got to go watch highlights of a guy making like 10 threes.
10 for 15 from 3.
Where was that? When we needed it.
It's also, he's going toe-to-toe with Jaylen Brown, going back and forth with Jaylen Brown like they're equals, like they're peers.
And then the only good thing for me is I have been over the top with my praise of Amen Thompson this year. You know.
I don't even think it's over the top.
Oh, my God, I love him. And, buddy, those plays that he made last night, slithering to the basket, and then even on the last, that's like, here's a guy that is not, you want him to shoot jump shots, right? And so
if you're the defense, yes.
Yeah, you know what he's going to try to get. His damage is done 8 feet and in, and 8 may be stretching
Well,
it.
you can't say at
right?
the rim because he shoots those little
I'm saying, what I'm saying,
the one he won the
8 may
game
be
on.
stretching.
Yeah.
We're 6 feet and in, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Most of his stuff. So you know he's going to try to get to a spot, and that drive and then quick stop in order to get that game winner was absolutely unbelievable.
He created like 4 feet of space, 5 feet from the basket.
By the way, that Rockets team's got mega heart. They're down 12 with 9 minutes left to go in that game before they mounted their comeback. And look, I think if you're Joe Mazzulla, you could probably say, hey, look, the whole idea was that we get Dylan Brooks to take 20-something shots.
Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green are not going to beat us. And Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson were like, okay, sure.
Right. And that's going to be the trick when you get to the playoffs, right? Because we think about these teams. In fact, it'll be interesting to see. That's the next team Memphis plays.
Thursday.
It's a Thursday night game on TNT.
Both with 2 days rest, right?
Yep. And it's a Thursday night game on TNT.
And wait, Memphis is 3-0 against the Rockets this year?
Other way around.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, my bad. Slipped my mind.
But look, that Rockets team, here's what we know. With all of these teams, whether it is, and we've talked about this a lot, the 3 teams that are at the top of the Western Conference that don't have Western Conference Finals and tons of playoff series wins under their belts. In fact, Houston, this is going to be their first go through. Oklahoma City last year was their first go through before they got clipped in the second round. It's like, what happens, especially with the younger teams, when you get to the playoffs, everybody is going to try to direct those shots to who they want to take those shots.
Yeah. And
so what's going to happen when somebody is running 2 at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all the time? Is Jalen Williams going to be the guy that could step up? Is it Kason Wallace? Is it Lou Dort? Are those guys going to keep shooting like they have shot throughout the season? Sometimes you have to have guys overperform like you had last year, Derrick Jones Jr. and P.J. Washington for Dallas. And the same thing goes with Houston, right? They're going to say, hey, these are the guys that we want to be taking the shots against us. And so
it's going to be Thompson and Brooks.
And we will see. But for a night last night, that was promising. Again, you got to do it for 4 games when it gets playoff time, but you kind of know how a good team is going to direct them and what they're going to try to direct them to. And so I do think that it was super promising for Houston. The other thing is this. You would think this is best opportunity. Many times you see this where there's a reason that the other team has a different knowledge of the personnel on the other team than is typical. And that would absolutely be the case with
Ime.
For sure.
Yeah.
If I were wanting someone to scheme up the Boston Celtics, he's got to be at the very top of the list. We talked about this a couple of years ago.
And I'm sure there's some vengeance, there's some petty motivation there too. I'm sure that when Ime's with his best friends talking about his time in Celtics and how it ended, he's not like, you know what? I made mistakes, all on me. I'm not the victim. I'm not the victim. This is all my fault. I don't believe he feels that way.
Well, and then the other thing is, you remember a couple of years ago when Sacramento played against Golden State in the playoffs, it was like, that was kind of the trope then, which was, if you were going to have anybody prepare for Golden State, how about the guy that was just on their bench? How about Mike Brown? Yes. And then they ended up going 7 games against them and then got done in by that monster Curry performance. But a former coach scheming. So I do think in a weird way, if you are a Celtics fan, you could say, hey, look, their coach is Ime Udoka.
Dylan Brooks had 10 threes.
And Dylan Brooks has 10 threes, and you won on the buzzer.
Yeah. But
not the end of the world.
We'll go to Celtics in a second, but very briefly on the Rockets is one of the prevailing sort of narratives about the Rockets is they don't have the go-to. They're like a closer by committee team.
That's right.
Like if Sengun is hot, then he's going to be the guy who gets the ball at the end. Like last night, if Thompson is hot, put the ball in his hands. Jalen Green sometimes has it, sometimes doesn't. Do you think that this is a flawed system and they need a quote-unquote star. I don't think there's one available to them at the deadline. I don't think it'll happen. Or can this closer by committee go with the hot hand? We play great defense. We're well coached. We're young. We're athletic. We're energetic. That can also work because I feel the latter.
I agree with you. I think the goal here, because you've got a young core that you're going to build out around. The vet guys will probably change as the years go on, as we know. My opinion is, and especially because this is going to be their first time through in the playoffs with the group, is you go there, you let them take their lumps, you let them have those opportunities. I mean, those are going to be intensely valuable for those guys.
Yes.
And so I do think the guy generally is going to be green. I think the guy generally is going to be green. But is going to be getting
some nights he just doesn't have it.
I got it, but I'm saying like the guy that can get his own shot.
Yes.
And if I'm down by 1 with 8 seconds left and I'm inbounding, I can clear out and I know this guy can get his own shot. And that's what was important about last night. It was a clear out and Thompson was able to create his own shot. Yeah. So you let those guys, I think you let those guys go into the playoffs and you let them take their lumps because, as I've talked about 1,000 times, all of these teams got to get their playoff scars. And so this will be the year that Houston takes their scars. And part of that is putting young players in the most pressurized situation. And most times you fail before you succeed. But this will be the time. And again, they might be able to surprise somebody. They might be able to get to a second round and make it a really hard series. But nobody has some expectation. You know what I mean? If they were in the Western Conference Finals, it would be surprising to people simply because this is the first time through with this group.
But they might have home court advantage in the first and second round. Isn't that surprising for the number 2 seed to get in the Western Conference Finals?
No. And then the other thing is, I think with any of those teams outside of Oklahoma City, it's a crapshoot.
Of course.
It's a crapshoot with all of them. Now, the problem becomes, for those 3 teams, I think for that matter, is that you're looking, as you constantly monitor the bottom 3, whoever's going to end up being 6, 7, and 8, it appears as if the most likely scenario is that those are going to be veteran-laden teams that have a lot of playoff experience.
Timberwolves, the Suns, the Lakers and the Mavericks. That's who's waiting for you.
Or the Warriors, or the Kings.
The Wolves.
Or the Wolves. Yeah, I mean,
those are all legit teams with...
They're not young and up and coming.
Outside of the Kings, they all have Hall of Famers.
Right.
Outside of the Kings.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a Sabonis, especially because of the...
DeRozan?
DeRozan will make the Hall of Fame.
He will. I don't know how it works. I'm not a big Hall of Fame in or out. It doesn't really bother me. I'm like, sure, put them all in.
You may get in the Basketball Hall of Fame just for Jalen and Jacoby.
Yeah, hopefully. I grew up down the block.
As a contributor.
Yeah.
You grew up down the block?
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
Yeah.
A lot. You act like...
No, I mean, it's not a place you go to like every weekend, like the playground.
Is it worth going to?
Yes. But you don't plan a trip to go to Springfield, Massachusetts.
I'm not kidding. I have never had somebody ask me, have you ever been to the Basketball Hall of Fame? Never.
Well, I'm from the 15 miles from there. I got it,
but it's not a thing like going to Canton is a thing. Going to Cooperstown is a thing, for sure.
Have you been to Canton?
No, but I would.
It's not a thing.
It's not?
No.
Cooperstown?
No.
Yes, it is.
I'm not a Hall of Fame guy.
But Cooperstown is like a whole utopia.
I've been and I was like 7 when I went.
That doesn't
I was
count.
Collecting baseball cards.
That doesn't count, though.
Yeah. Springfield's worth doing. And everybody says the same thing. They've got this conveyor belt that you go down and you just get shots up. It's everyone's favorite part. Everyone's like, you can celebrate the greatness of all other athletes that have come in the last 200 years, but no one cares except for them getting their own shots up. It's great.
So now I get to see, is it fair to say you can't be higher than what that locker room was probably like last night for Houston?
Oh, afterwards?
And then you can't get lower for what the
Ahmed
Grizzlies...
Thompson said, I felt like Kobe. This is my first game winner. I felt like Kobe after the game. So, yeah, can't get higher than that locker room.
And you can't get lower than whatever Memphis felt
in the game's in Memphis, right?
It is. Yes. Late tip.
Memphis Thursday night. So you need to get some of your local, what do you call people from Memphis?
Memphians?
Memphians?
Yes.
Oh.
How dare you?
Sounds like a class of mammal.
How dare you?
Memphians.
That's what they're called.
They dwell in trees and on the ground.
Memphians. We're Memphians.
Memphians. Well, get some of your Memphians to get those to go out Wednesday night and show the visiting Rockets some fun on Beale Street.
I doubt that.
Well, that'll be a big game. I'll say that. Okay. The Knicks thing is whatever. Eastern Conference thing, travel. They probably enjoyed New York City just like you did on Sunday. That's the feel that game had. This is a big game Thursday.
It is.
This is a big one. If you go down 0-4 in the season series against a potential round 2 playoff opponent, it's bad.
We agree. Cavs beat the Pistons. That's worth mentioning. That took place last night. We had kind of gotten through. I am a little remiss to make huge judgments this time of year because we are hurtling towards the All-Star break.
Yep.
This is kind of a malaise in the middle of the schedule. Like, there's a couple things going on. We're heading towards the All-Star break.
Trade deadline.
Also, more importantly, we're headed towards the trade deadline. And all of these teams have guys that are sitting there going, am I going to have to sell this house? Am I going to have to, what I mean? Like, it's a weird part of the schedule every year where you've got, things can kind of settle in post-trade deadline, post-All-Star break. But these few weeks, always leading into the trade deadline / All-Star break are always a bit strange, and we can get odd results that take place. So I am, as I said, I'm a little hesitant to make too many snap judgments, but obviously...
Sounds like you're making excuses for the Grizzlies.
No.
Yeah.
This was about the Cavs because I think there was absolutely no reason to not be crazy high on the Cavs. And then it was like, well, are they what we thought they were?
I mean, Evan Mobley wasn't available for a couple games.
And Darius Garland against the aforementioned Houston team, he missed 2 of the free throws at the end of the game,
Crazy.
What are the chances?
But it is interesting to see the Cavs because there was this idea, like 70 win pace. They're on pace to win 73. And I think that is an objective mathematical fact, the pace at which they were winning. But I think anyone who's being honest with themselves is not saying Cavs 2025, one of the greatest teams ever.
I will say, especially after the recent events and being that what I saw last night, I mean, my preseason pick was the Knicks. Right now, you feel as good about the Knicks as you do about the Cavs or the Celtics, regardless of record. If we're getting into a playoff series, the only thing with the Knicks is they are 1 injury away. These other teams might have a little more breathing room if somebody went down. You have no breathing room if somebody goes down.
No
breathing room.
No, how do I say this? There is a reason that Tibbs plays 7 or 8 people.
That's right.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
No. And so anyways, Cavs beat the Pistons, who had obviously had an amazing 2025 thus far.
Cavs held them in 91.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't, it did not change my opinion drastically of either of those teams, depending on that result. And the Pistons are still an awesome, fun story that hopefully I think you're looking at them as going, hey, get into the playoffs, maybe win a couple games, right? Again, another team that's got to take their lumps this year. The Cavs are certainly one of the favorites who I do think that if they are not in the Eastern Conference Finals, it'll be a disappointment to them. We're to that point.
That's fair to say, especially when you have a record like they have. Yeah, being the number 1 seed in the conference. Yeah, you should be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
The big story yesterday was Jimmy Butler.
This is, again, the number 1 news source in the NBA right now is Kevin Love's Instagram. We have to, again, recognize that. And yesterday was a clip of Denzel Washington say he was going to put cases on everyone. And it was a representation of Jimmy Butler's reaction upon arriving at shoot-around. This is in Orlando, right? So he arrives at shoot-around, learns that Haywood Highsmith is going to be starting over him, and then just leaves shoot-around. And is then suspended indefinitely, at least for 5 games, by the Heat. Why is that 5 games significant, Verno? Gets him to the other side of the trade deadline.
Okay. Now
without pay.
Let's talk through this. Do you think it was because it was Haywood Highsmith?
I think the Heat
Do you think he said, oh, hell no?
Well,
do you take it personally if you are Haywood Highsmith?
Yes.
When he says, and at the 3, Haywood. And I can see
Jimmy
this
Butler
playing
just
out.
stands up. Just walks out.
No.
Just stands up and walks out.
If you're Haywood Highsmith, this is a good moment for you, theoretically. Oh, wow, I'm getting a start. Here's my chance. But now the star player just says, oh, hell no.
And walks out of the room.
I think I would take it personally.
I mean, I think that this is I'm going to get a little macro here because we've had this decade run of what's been labeled like player empowerment era. And I think this is the Miami Heat front office, Pat Riley, getting into a room with a lawyer and saying, all right, what we have learned about Jimmy Butler's behavior behind the scenes in Miami is exactly that. What we have learned about Jimmy Butler's behavior behind the scenes in Miami. We can only assume there has been conversations, there has been discord, there has been disruption, there has been disrespect, that he has done he's broken out his Jimmy Butler saboteur playbook and he's running all the plays. And what Miami is saying is, all right, within the rules of the CBA, how can we screw over Jimmy Butler as much as possible? And they're like, all right, if you're going to walk out in the middle of a meeting, in the middle of a shoot around, which is an organized team activity, guess what we're going to do? We're going to suspend you indefinitely for not providing services, which means you're not getting paid and you're getting suspended. And what they have done is they've said, you are pulling the levers that you can pull to get you out of Miami and out of this franchise. We have levers we can pull too, one of which is intentionally announcing in front of the team that Haywood Highsmith is starting in front of you.
Okay, do you think that here you go. Does that in your mind mean that we should pause Heat culture or that it is a reinforcement of Heat culture that not even Jimmy Butler, the attempted culture killer, can be successful?
It's a great question.
This
is a great question.
Right.
I'll tell you exactly what this is. Heat culture is a lovely, lovely, lovely home. Beachfront property. Miami, South Beach. It's made of wood, right on the beach. And what Jimmy Butler is a little rising tide. It's getting a little too close to the house. It's starting to crumble, starting to get a little mold on the 2x4s that are holding up the house. And what this is Pat Riley saying, concrete. We're building this house out of concrete. So this is not a pause on Heat culture. This is not a referendum of the weakness of Heat culture, but this is indications that from within, Heat culture can erode. And these actions are Pat Riley saying, there are certain behaviors we will not accept here on the Miami Heat. No matter who you are, no matter what position you play, no matter how many points you score. And we're going to enforce to every letter of the law as much punishment as we can on your behavior.
And outside, Haywood Highsmith is building said concrete wall.
Yes.
He is laying it down.
He's laying down the concrete. And Pat Riley's putting his initials in it.
Haywood Highsmith.
Exactly. Haywood Highsmith is like, what did
I
do? I like Jimmy. Like, we're homies. Now he's mad at me for starting.
Now he's mad at me.
I know. I've got my mom tickets to the game. She's going to come watch me start. Now Jimmy's mad.
Look, and the interesting part is going to be, obviously, we have talked a lot about this in Memphis simply because their name was in conjunction with Jimmy and not in a good way. It was anywhere but
Memphis, which is insane.
Okay, but I do want to just take a quick aside to mention this. So if you go back in time, because I think in some ways it's been misconstrued even by people that are from where I'm from, which is to say, wait, what the hell, man? You don't want to win? You don't want to be you don't want to try to win a championship, right? It would be perfect fit. And what? Oh, you're too good for Memphis? Oh, what? Like, look, if you go back, everything is always fine with Jimmy. All of these problems always emit from him not getting paid. You did not give him the contract that he wanted. Chicago, Minnesota, Philly, Miami. Every time, it's always about the contract. It's always about the money.
Not about minutes or touches
when it goes
or
wrong.
Offense they're running or whatever.
So here's the deal. Memphis is more than likely the team that they have talked to him about the most, right? Whether it was Mickey Harrison, whether it was Pat Riley. Like, bro, you can't keep telling us you want out. We got a deal that we can make, and you don't want to go there. But understandably, from the other side, Memphis cannot pay him, right? They're paying John Morant.
It would be a terrible decision.
They wouldn't anyway.
Possible. Like, they can,
and here's the
whatever.
Thing. So then the trick would be, is there any way in hell that you could convince him, come play from now until hopefully June, don't pick up the option, you go your way, we go our way.
What if he picks up the option? And he's on the books for $52 million.
Which is 100% why you cannot make the deal. But it's also the reason Jimmy Butler doesn't want to get traded somewhere that he has no chance of getting that contract that he wants. He doesn't. He has no chance of
because
that, right?
him as a free agent is
Jaren
not
Jackson
that
Jr. is going to
valuable.
get a $300 million extension.
Yeah.
And you already got Morant, you've already got Bane on the books. You're not paying.
List the number of teams that want to pay Jimmy Butler 3 years, $150 million.
Right. Now, the convincing would be, look, bro, nobody is paying you that. You have sabotaged how much, especially if nobody's going to watch you play basketball. Your chance is going and having a chance to be in the West Finals or the NBA Finals and building up that value, and then people will be lined up to get you for a couple more years, right? If
he scores 25 a game for the Grizzlies and then losing the finals,
right?
Here's $200 million for 3 years.
Now you could make some real money doing that. The problem is, if you're Memphis, you can't sit there and go,
it's not happening. He literally said anywhere but Memphis.
But that's the reason. It's not because he doesn't want to win. It's not because it's always money with him. Always.
Do you believe the Suns trading 1 first-round pick for 3 first-round picks and then like involving 2 or 3 other teams will make this happen where Jimmy ends up on the Suns?
I think look, one of the things that we have learned is generally when these guys want to direct themselves to a place, they have been able to direct themselves to a place.
But for whatever reason, Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause.
Right.
And he said he will not waive it to go to the Bulls.
Right.
The no-trade clause on Bradley Beal, someone needs to do a 6-part documentary about this, like the OJ thing. How did this happen? This is a travesty.
Well, I think the better investigation would be that, Mark Bartelstein is his agent, who's a great agent, right? Who negotiated that. Bartelstein's son, runs the Suns.
Yeah.
So how many places were going to be trading for Bradley Beal with said no trade clause? There is a connection there that exists.
Yeah.
And now you're in a precarious situation where it's but it also may help, right? The same way that you acquired it. It'd be interesting to see if that can also help in this situation. There's no question it's a weird dynamic, right? The player who has got this no trade clause is represented by the guy who is the father
dad of the guy running the front office. And at the time, it makes sense. You're doing everything you can to get Bradley Beal in Phoenix to complete this big 3 to make a championship run. At the time, you're not like, well, what about that no trade clause? You're thinking, we get Bradley Beal, we're keeping him through his contract. Why would we ever think about trading Bradley Beal? We're working so hard to bring him here. He is the last piece of this championship team that we need. Yep. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't play that well. Your team doesn't play that well, and Jimmy Butler comes available. You have to start opening up that contract and seeing what the no trade clause is about.
Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out. But do I think Jimmy Butler is going to be elsewhere? For sure. I mean, it's untenable.
I love the drama. I would love for them not to trade him just to see what happens. And I would love for him to pick up an option with the Heat next year. Yeah.
The full Harden.
Here we go. $52 million. Pay me.
Yeah.
There's no chance he puts on a Heat uniform for the rest of the year. No chance.
I think we agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, you'd have to once you get post-trade deadline, right?
No.
I think everybody just wants this all to be over.
Yeah.
It's too much.
If you're a player on the Heat, a fan of the Heat, you're in the Heat front office, like just get this guy out of here. It reminds me of Stephon Diggs on the Bills a little bit.
Yeah, this is not.
It's like, yes, good player. Yes, contributes on the field, but we just feel as a franchise we'd be better off without that good player that contributes on the field.
Well, and I think it continues to make Jimmy. I always look at it like this, right? I understand anger. I understand ego. But in the end, what is the goal? And are your actions getting you closer to accomplishing said goal? And I think it is fair to say that Jimmy Butler's actions are nowhere close to the actions of someone with theoretically the goal that you want to take place, which is I want to go elsewhere and I want to get a long-term contract and I want somebody, because you continuously are doing things that hurt your reputation. Every day that this is in the news, every more game that he is suspended, the more it hurts his reputation.
Of course. And who wants him?
Right.
If you're the Suns, you trade Bradley Beal and whatever else to make it work.
Right.
You bring him in. What do you give him an extension?
Right.
So now you've got Booker, Durant, and Butler.
Right.
Is that much better than Beal, Durant, and Butler? And one of the problems with the Suns franchise is they're so locked into these 3 huge contracts, they can't build role players around them. And you're still in the same spot.
I mean, I look, I think there's probably some discussion of, bro, we got to do something to win right now because our future is screwed anyway.
Screwed.
Our future's screwed anyway. We better win now. Like, that was the whole idea behind this. That's why I made the trade the day I bought the team.
I mean,
I got to win now because, look, bro, we don't have something to look forward to.
The Suns have been kind of winning recently.
I know.
They're getting some games behind them. I don't know.
Did you like the Nurkic has no relationship with the coach?
I mean, he said they haven't spoken in 2 months. You know how much time these people spend together.
How?
It'd be so hard not to speak to the head coach for 2 months.
And Bud's a huge culture guy.
Yeah, that's
been
odd.
The whole thing. Culture, team dinners, really care about the players, right? Like this whole, I think about this all the time, and guys like Bud have been perfect examples of it. Years and years ago, I interviewed Pat Summitt, God rest her soul, and Pat Summitt said one of the most profound things that anyone has ever said to me during an interview, and I was talking to her about how she interacts with her players, and I think about the NBA a lot through this prism. And she says, they will never care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been kind of that Budenholzer, Atkinson, Taylor Jenkins, Quinn Snyder, like all that group that from that Popovich / Budenholzer team dinners and really knowing the guys and knowing their families and all that. Like, that's what they've been great at, is building the camaraderie, building a culture. So that's what's stunning to me. It's like, that is not that. Like, if somebody told me Ime Udoka hasn't talked to him in 2 months, it would be wildly unsurprising.
Or Joe Maz.
Like, I'd
be surprised if he did talk to somebody. But 2 months ago, Nurkic wasn't even that bad. Like, he's in the doghouse now or whatever, but like 2 months ago, it wasn't like Nurkic is the problem with the Suns.
Bro, if Tyler Kolek said, I don't think Tibbs knows my name, it would not surprise me.
That's probably a good thing.
He probably for sure doesn't know your name.
Yeah.
White dude, get in.
He probably knows your number, 17.
Right. Kolek.
Yeah.
What you Kolek? Kolek. Yeah. You call him the wrong
Collard
name.
Greens, whatever this is.
It's like 100 years ago when I was covering the Grizzlies. Drew Gooden, who's now a broadcaster, right? The entire time he got drafted 4th overall. He was on the team for, first couple of months of the season before he was traded to Orlando for Mike Miller. Hubie Brown never called him Drew. Every time he go, Dwight. He never knew his name. He called him Dwight. He called him Dwight. Hey, ask him. He called him Dwight for 3 months.
Dwight.
I mean, Hugh Brown's like 80 years old coaching the Grizzlies, but I mean, called him Dwight. Shane Battier said he would laugh every practice.
That's hilarious.
Dwight, get over here.
Oh, it looks nothing like Dwight Gooden.
Fucking Drew.
There was once a man named Dwight Gooden in sports. Played a different sport a long time ago.
No.
It's a totally different era.
Dwight.
Shout out to Hubie Brown.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, the original point is Budenholzer, like, it's just bizarre, and it's like,
I don't think it's true. It's probably Nurkic exaggerating. I'm sure they have spoken, but I think it's Nurkic just trying to just. I think that Nurkic has seen his name dragged through the mud, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna drag a name down in here with me. That's what that is. And it's fine.
Are we concerned about the Magic yet?
Yeah,
we are.
I've been waiting for them to be full strength.
Because they keep getting their guys back.
And now they're full strength.
Yeah, that's a tumble down the standings. They were one of our favorites.
I know.
They have really switched place with the Pistons.
And it was defense.
You know, where it's like, yeah.
It's one thing guys go get hot, get cold offensively or whatever, that happens. But I always thought they could always be in games and rely on their defense. It hasn't been there.
Haywood Highsmith, too.
I think they need Mo Feets, Wagner.
I think for the way they win games, the energy that both Suggs and Mo Wagner have brought them.
Yes.
Throughout that
Mo was
first,
having like a career year this year, too.
But for that first whole part of the season, having those two guys, and I always talk about there are certain guys that raise the collective energy of the team. Yeah. And they're both those. And I think
Suggs
one of them with the starting unit and one of them with the bench unit.
Suggs is going to play a lot more minutes, so he's going to have a lot more impact.
But Mo Wagner was always doing something testy. Yeah. He was always in the mix. He was always pissing off the other team. He was always making some kind of hustle play or something.
A month and a half ago, they were playing the Lakers, and Mo Wagner was dunking all over the place. He's getting in people's faces. Yep. He was like a catalyst. And I remember I said to myself, I was like, is this a Mo Wagner revenge game? Like, is he like angry at the Lakers?
A couple other things that are worth mentioning. The Raptors, like they've won 5 of 6 now.
It's 5 of 6, right? I think it's 6 of 7. Whatever it is.
And apologize to Scotty Barnes.
I'm not apologizing to Scotty Barnes.
I mean, he apologized to the reigning Eastern Conference Player of the Week.
You're only saying that because Jaren Jackson Jr. is the Western Conference Player of the Week.
No, I'm saying that because Scotty Barnes won Player of the Week.
I'm not a Scotty Barnes believer, and I'm continue to not believe in Scotty Barnes.
You're not a believer of Player of the Week, Scotty Barnes. That's what he is this week.
No, not a player.
That's what he is.
Not a supporter of the POW of the week. POW.
Well, and again, is the Pelicans that they beat. But they have had some good wins recently, and certainly not going to be, it appears to be, going the route of the Wizards and some of their peers, which is it's wildly non-competitive every night. Like they are at least attempting to compete.
Are they?
They are. They won 5 of 6.
It's like they're winning by accident.
No, and they've gotten guys back. They have. They've gotten guys back into their lineup. Right? They certainly look more legitimate than they have.
There are times when you're like, Barnes, Barrett, quickly, Hurdle. You're like, okay. Like, sure.
It's not winning any playoff series, but it's also not crap.
Yes.
There are some of these teams you flip on the Wizards and you're like, Jesus.
Certain Pelicans lineups, you're like, what are we doing?
Ugh. Like, these are at least legitimate NBA players. Like, maybe it's not the best fit. Maybe it's a bunch of guys that would lead you straight to the middle. But leading you straight to the middle is way better than being a 10 or 12 win team, which is what some of these teams are putting out. And so once the Raptors have at least the guys they do have, it's a mess of a salary cap. It's not, a bright future.
No.
Necessarily outside of figuring out a couple guys that you could build out around.
Scotty Barnes is holding the NBA Finals MVP trophy. I will admit that I'm wrong, but something tells me I'm pretty good on the under on that one.
He'd probably drop it.
I've got a very fast gimmicky segment for you.
Let me hear it.
I'm going to set up something that's happening currently in the NBA.
Okay.
That's currently happening.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you. You're going to determine whether it is just a tiny trend that will pass or it's the new normal.
I like this game.
And we're going to go quickly.
Okay.
Like a manual.
I will Answer quickly.
Doncic, still out. Derek Lively, out for an extended period of time. They get Kleber back. He's out again. Mavs season is cursed by injuries and going nowhere. Tiny trend or the new normal?
Right now, as of this morning, they are tied, though, behind Phoenix.
For the 8th spot.
Yeah. They are half a game up on Sac, 2 games up on Golden State.
Tiny trend or new normal?
Boy, I hate that these are my only 2 choices, but I'm going to say tiny trend.
I'm going new normal.
No, I'm going to say tiny trend because I think post All-Star break, you have time. And we saw that team go bananas after the All-Star break. And so what my consideration would be is that you will get Luka Doncic back. You will have him for that stretch run for those last, whatever it is, 30 games. And that will be enough to have a good enough record to once you get into the, and again, if they're 8, that is an absolute nightmare scenario for Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah, it's not.
That is a nightmare. Yeah. And so you just have to beat a 10, and assuming that they get Luka back, I think they will have a good enough record to be in the play-in. Again, a play-in team you would not want to see.
I will say, I'm going to disagree. Say it's the new normal because I see it like this. It is more likely that they deal with more injuries than it is that Lively comes back and plays the rest of the season. Luka comes back and plays the rest of the season. Kyrie's bulging disc in his back is all of a sudden better. Kleber's all of a sudden better. Like it's just more likely. They feel kind of like the 49ers last year in football, where it's like good team, prior success, injury-riddled season this year, just throw it out.
Well, and if they don't get it, look, if they didn't, I do fear that it wouldn't even be if they can't get Lively back by the time it would be time for a play-in situation or whatever. But I think right now, I would say your most likely scenario is that they're in one of the play-in games, and then at that point, you still have Luka Doncic on your team.
Keeping it moving here.
I'm not gonna bury him yet.
Steph Curry was 0 for 8 in the second half in the loss against the Lakers. 3. The Warriors are outside of the playoffs, and this core looks like it will never compete for a championship again. Tiny trend or the new normal?
Oh, come on. That's been the new normal.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, that one's easy. That one's easy. I mean, unless you made some kind of, again, this core. Which you're just talking about Steph and Draymond.
Steph, and Steve
No,
Curry,
in the absence of them adding an awesome player, which I would not take out of consideration.
No, but they almost need someone to be like a 1B to Steph.
Correct.
Like they don't need like a second scorer like Andrew Wiggins.
But I've been on this thing where they say like, well, we don't want to sacrifice the future, and I say, what future? Like, again, if you're not going to pay Kuminga, you move Kuminga within these next couple of weeks. And if you can move Kuminga and you can get somebody that is like that 1B, I mean, that's what I would not decide cannot compete. If you were able to get one other big-time player.
Who's that, though? Levine? Butler?
If you got one of those 2 guys.
Still not competing for a championship, in my opinion.
Okay.
Moving on. Mac McClung is officially going for a 3-peat in the dunk contest. He'll be up against Andre Jackson Jr., Stephen Castle, and Buzelis. It's okay. Here we go. No stars in the dunk contest. What? Tiny trender, new normal.
Oh, that's been the new normal. And look, I'm a Mac McClung fan. I love watching Mac McClung dunk. How does it do us any good to have a guy that does not play in the NBA winning it every year?
Every year. My thing is this.
Like, bro, why don't you just, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's fine. But like, that guy, the guy that I love on Instagram, Lethal Shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Now you understand.
Yeah.
Right? That guy. Stop playing with me. This guy. Why don't you just have him put him in the 3-point contest?
Sure.
Put Lethal Shooter in the 3-point contest.
Team Flight Brothers or whatever. Like, there's professional dunkers that do nothing. They don't play basketball. They just dunk in front of crowds. I'm sure they could do it. My thing is this, I don't think the dunk contest is done and buried because I remember the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest. I think
a long time ago now.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
It was. I'm gonna say it was in. I'm gonna say
Chicago,
9 years
right?
ago, 8 years ago.
It was a long time ago. That's a long time,
good.
Jacoby.
It was so good. That was one of the best of my lifetime.
Amazing.
And it was in this new era of sort of like young leapers being a part of it, not all-stars. And I loved that dunk contest. That was one of the best of my life.
Maybe Stephon Castle and Matas Buzelis can save it.
Okay.
You don't believe so?
No. Seems like every time SGA takes the lead in the MVP race, Jokic does something crazy and have like 35, 22, and 17. The race is too tight to call, and anyone who is leading one way or the other is a fool. Tiny trend or the new normal?
No, that's tiny trend. Tiny trend. In the end, as I've told you, I might end up being wrong about it being unanimous, but I do think that, look, anybody, and Bontemps will be sending out, I'm sure, a straw poll pretty soon. I think every single person that responds to that is going to have SGA number one. I do.
Really?
I don't know if at the end that will be the case.
Oh, I'd see.
There will probably be
you
one
are
person
so
in there.
delusioned on
No,
this.
that's not true.
So say this again out loud, because this is there's a piece of metal in front of your
Watch
mic.
what I say.
It's in front of your mouth, and it records what you say.
I do
and
not
It
think-
goes digitally onto a server, so then you can reference it later in life.
I'm telling you,
You're thinking
I'm
it will
part
be
of the Bontemps thing.
The straw poll will be unanimous. Not a single person will try to outthink the room.
Correct.
And put Jokic on there.
Now, again, it would be much more likely for that to be the case in the straw poll than in the actual when it comes down to the very end. But one guy already has 3 and is on not as good a team. And
but
the
he's
other
playing
guy,
better than he did in all the seasons in which he had 3.
It's already the narrative, and they're in first place. Okay, how about this, Jacoby? If I passed it off to you and I said, you know what, I can't do this Bontemps thing. You do it. You would have SGA 1.
Yeah,
You would.
I would.
So whatever. So
but
why
not
do you
everyone
act like
else.
everybody
But not
else?
everyone else would, because there's always some asshole that tries to outthink the room that is like, all of you people are wrong. I am the true basketball knowledge man.
I have said,
and I am the one who knows that Nikola Jokic. You're trying to tell me you can't make a good case.
I've said that might be so. I said in the end, what I think is when the straw poll comes out, I think all of the first place votes will be SGA. I think everybody will have him number 1.
Okay. Next. People complaining that NBA teams are taking too many threes and it's ruining the game. Tiny trend, or is this the new normal?
Tiny trend for people complaining about it.
I say tiny trend as well.
People complaining about it. We were at that game last night, and there was never a moment where you thought, wow, there's way too many threes being taken. No.
And they're taking open ones. No. Like, you can pick and choose.
You know what that is? You know what it is? I've thought about this a lot.
Oh.
The league always changes based upon who wins.
Yeah.
It is a Celtics thing.
Yes.
It is. And the Celtics are on TV all the time. And you can tune it in, and they're taking 50.
They spam the three-point line. They do, but they've got the horses to do it.
And also, then, like, look, we talked earlier about Amen Thompson and whatever. Like, yeah, Dylan Brooks hit a ton last night, right? But that's not their game.
No.
Right? That's not their game.
The Thunder don't take a bunch of threes.
Right. So I think part of it is the team that won. So we saw them for every round and we saw them win. And then the other thing is you can't get outscored by 35 points at the 3-point line. So what ends up happening is Celtics on TV the most or a lot because they won the title. They're a very popular team. They take 50-something threes. I can't lose by 30-something points at the 3-point line. Therefore, their opponents are generally going to take more threes, you would think, right? I would have to do all the stats to bear this out. But then those games feature a tremendous amount of 3-point shots. And so it's really more about some of the biggest teams, including the reigning world champion, than it is league-wide. For sure.
Look at the Western Conference. The Thunder, don't take that many threes. Rockets, don't take that many threes. Grizzlies, they take some threes.
They take threes.
They're not crazy. The Nuggets, don't take that many threes. And we're going down. Number the 5 spot, Lakers. They're not bombing threes.
No, this is truly
the Clippers. They're not bombing threes. The Timberwolves, yeah. Anthony Edwards is shooting as many threes as he literally possibly
but the rest of that team doesn't.
It's not. I had this argument with my friend Mike after our rec league basketball game on Wednesday, and he comes to me. He's like, "They're taking too many threes. They're ruining basketball." And my takeaway from that conversation was, and I respect him so much. He knows a ton about basketball. He loves the league. Is my takeaway from that is what I call a snowball opinion that just gathers more and more people as it goes down the mountain.
That's right.
And gets bigger and bigger. But I don't think it's actually happening on the screen when I watch games.
Well,
I can see clips on the internet where it's like, 5 threes in a row. That looks bad. But when I'm watching NBA games every night, I'm not watching it being like, they take too many threes. It doesn't cross my mind.
Right.
It doesn't. I think this is all fake.
I don't know if it's all fake. I would say most of these teams are very smart about, they know that the numbers tell you want to tray it up or lay it up, right? That your most efficient shots are going to be at the rim and they are going to be at the 3-point line. And so you still see a lot of drive a kick, drive a kick, drive a kick, drive a kick, paint touch, kick it out to a 3.
Of course.
There's a lot of guys that do pass up the 4-foot shot to throw it back out to the 3-point line.
Or a spray to the 3-point line on the break. Old guys hate that. If you're over 40 and you see someone spray to the 3-point line on a transition possession, you're mad. You're so mad.
To me, that is more of it. To me, it is more of, it's not as much about the number of threes, it's about the similarity of style of play.
Yes.
That there's also not as many, because these teams all have entire offices of statistical analysts, and you are now taking players and turning them into players that do one of these two things. Do you get to the rim or do you knock down corner threes? And if you can't space the floor by being able to shoot threes, it's very hard to get on the court anymore.
Yeah, you better be Giannis Antetokounmpo.
You have to be exceptional at doing other things. But And so I do think that will evolve. There will become a different, market inefficiency. But for right now, there has been, because of the statistical revolution that has taken place within the NBA, you do have too many teams playing similarly. That's what I would say.
I just think sometimes I feel bad for the commissioner, Silver, when he has to go there and be like, we're looking into it. Yeah. We're going to make some changes. I'm like, bro, you know what I would say? We're monitoring it. We think we have a great product. We're monitoring it.
The other thing, and I do think this is totally fair, they run old games on NBA TV all the time. Like, your memory fails you.
Yes. It was not Joga Benito in 1992.
Your memory
It was not
fails
the beautiful game. They're not whipping the ball around.
Your memory fails you.
It's how many Dale Davis post-ups do you want to see?
I mean, there are 4 guys standing in the lane.
Yeah, and like the most popular shot is like a 10-foot baseline jumper.
Right.
Is that what you want to see?
And with a lot of bricks.
Yeah. All right, moving on. The Super Bowl coverage for the next 2 weeks will have heavy doses of Taylor Swift. The Taylor Swift takeover. Tiny trend or new normal?
What are you talking about? Like, it's been the new normal for 5 years. That's a terrible question.
The idea that
what are you talking about?
Swift. The idea that Taylor Swift is like the third most important figure in this Super Bowl is just insane to me.
My daughter asked to go.
To the game?
No, tickets. I'm saying to one of her concerts. This last tour. It was like $2,500 for the upper deck.
Bro, I'm a huge Olivia Rodrigo guy, thanks to my 2 9-year-old twins.
$2,500
I love Olivia
deck?
Rodrigo. To me, to take my 2 twins to see Olivia Rodrigo is like $10,000. And those aren't even good seats.
And you got to get the Knicks app.
Then you got to get the Knicks app.
Or you can't get it.
They wouldn't even let you in the building without the Knicks app. Do you know how many 14-year-old girls are going to be so pissed when they're going to be all dressed up in their clothes and they've got face tattoos and they've been listening on the car ride to all their favorite Taylor songs and they get right up to that same gate and that same guy is there and he's like, yeah, I get the Knicks app. And they're like, the Knicks? I don't even know what the Knicks are. I drove from Pennsylvania.
And dad's not there, so now mom just took the girls.
Mom has no idea. Mom doesn't even know the Ticketmaster login.
My wife would have never gotten into that game last night.
So then what happens
She'd
is,
have been like,
then the mom starts to call the dad, but the dad's got the night off without the kids and the wife. So he's at the bar watching the Grizzlies get beaten by the Knicks on the road because Taylor took over the Garden, and he's not even answering his phone, and then they don't even get to see Taylor Swift, and this costs $9,000.
Sorry, dude. The Madison Square Garden way too small for Taylor Swift.
Oh, she plays the Garden.
She's over at MetLife, bro.
She plays the Garden.
No, she's in stadiums now.
You're right. Wow, she doesn't even do arenas.
MetLife.
Wow. All right, so I guess you don't need the Knicks app. Good news.
$2,500 is
bad news.
The upper deck.
You still can't afford it. Good news.
You
don't need the Knicks app.
The Jets
Giants app. You need the Jets app. The Jets can't afford an app. They can't afford an app. Verno, so good to see you in person, buddy.
Oh, man, it was great to be in New York City outside of the game.
I'm coming to Memphis.
F. Miles
I'm coming
McBride,
to Memphis next.
F. Tyler Okolik.
Don't forget Bridges.
F. Miles
Precious.
Mikal Bridges.
Precious hit a 3.
Oh, my God.
What a game.
What a game indeed.
What a game.
What a game. I promise you this. I'll never forget it.
Do you know what I love? just the end of this podcast, I just want to recount the end of the game. The Grizzlies are down by 40. Kolik's in there. White flags have been, everyone's waved a white flag. People are just streaming out of the exits. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if Verno's going to leave early.
I will say this. Hey, hold on.
I was like, I wonder if Verno is going to leave early because it was time to go. It's a 39-41 point game. And I was like, I wonder if Verno's going to leave early. And then Verno starts asking questions like, how do I get home? I was like, oh, you walk home. And he's like, is it safe? He's so concerned about walking 10 blocks in New York City. I was like, it's not really safe, but it's also not dangerous.
I got so high.
Anyone who lives in New York, the Times Square area
everything smell like weed?
Is very marijuana-ish.
Why?
It's just people, because people go and hang out outside there. There's nothing to do.
It smells like weed everywhere.
And there's police everywhere, too. They do not care.
Is it that CBD crap or is it actual weed?
Actual weed.
It smells like weed everywhere.
Everywhere. And that one stretch of the city that you were in is a very marijuana-heavy stretch.
All right, so I made one purchase at the game, and now every time I see it, I'm going to have this horrible memory.
What'd you get?
Of watching the Grizzlies lose by 40.
Yeah.
Here was my one purchase on video camera. There it is.
It is a plushie of Patrick Ewing.
I had to have it.
He looked at it, and he was like, oh, no, I got to get that.
I have to have it.
He's like, I got to get that.
I mean, the widow's peak.
The widow's peak hairline.
Sideburns,
and the
mustache.
The point-sized sideburns is.
So this will be.
The only way it could look more like him is if it was sweating right now.
This will be my unfortunate reminder of the first time I ever went to Madison Square Garden and got the Knicks app.
Did you really take it off your phone?
And watch the Grizzlies lose by 40.
Did you really take it off your phone?
Huh?
Did you take it off the phone?
Oh, I'll never have that app. I'm never going to that.
I'll post the video when I post this pod.
Please don't.
Verno getting stuck outside with this look on his face, like he looked like he was about to turn cannibal. He was about to go like Mike Tyson and bite someone's ear off. It was absolutely fantastic.
I wasn't that. I was frustrated, but I'm not one of those that starts yelling at people. I just get frustrated and like, what am I supposed to do? I just want to get in.
You were not rude to anyone.
I just want to get in.
But you were fuming on the inside.
Oh, dying.
On the inside, you were fuming. It got to the point where like 15 minutes later, you're still complaining about the Knicks app. Like, we're here. We're in our seats. We're watching the game.
This is the only thing I have to remember it by. Because it used to be I collected physical tickets. There's no such thing as a physical ticket anymore. Right?
Yeah,
so this is my only souvenir, a Patrick Ewing plushie toy.
Oh, safe travels home.
Yep.
And try not to get high on the way home.
Thanks to Bell for helping us out on site. Bell. Thanks to our executive producer, Jesse Lopez, as always. And Jacoby, I'll talk to you later this week.